Welcome to today's deep dive. Imagine walking into your local grocery store, loading up your cart, and finding out your food consumption tax has dropped from 8% to like 1% overnight.
I mean, that sounds like an absolute win for your wallet.
Right, exactly. But looking at recent parliamentary debate transcripts and news reports, this proposed tax cut has actually triggered a total political standstill in Japan. And our mission today is to unpack this fierce battle and give you an impartial look at both sides.
Yeah, it's a massive clash of roadmaps. Like, on one side, you have a push for immediate financial relief, but on the other, there are severe warnings of economic chaos. So to understand this deadlock, we really have to start with the one thing lawmakers actually agree on, which is a long-term goal set for the year 2029.
Okay, 2029. So the Cross-Party National Conference reached a consensus to roll out this benefit with tax deduction system by then. But what does that actually look like in practice?
Well, it's essentially a highly targeted relief program. Instead of universally lowering the price of goods for everyone at the register, lower income earners get cash back when they file their taxes.
Oh, gotcha. So it's very precise.
Exactly. But it takes years to build the administrative infrastructure for it.
Right. And that gap is where Prime Minister Takaichi steps in. Because she wants a temporary bridge to get us to 2029, which is slashing the food consumption tax to 1% for 2 years starting next April. It's kind of like a temporary promotional discount a company offers, to keep you happy while their main software is still being built.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
But I have to admit, I don't really get the panic from the opposition here. I mean, a 1% tax sounds like massive immediate relief for consumers. So why is opposition leader Yuichiro Tamaki treating a tax cut like some kind of economic doomsday? Is this just a economic sugar rush that guarantees a nasty crash later?
Well, yeah, because of the economic whiplash it creates, if you drop the tax to 1% now, bumping it back up to 8% in 2 years is going to feel like a sudden, massive tax hike for everyone.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I guess it would.
Right. Think of it like taking off a heavy backpack during a long hike. It feels incredible in the moment. But putting it back on 2 years later is going to make your knees buckle, especially for the middle class, who won't even qualify for those targeted benefits when 2029 rolls around.
Ouch. Okay, that makes sense for consumers. But the transcripts also show intense pushback from businesses. Like farmers and exempt businesses are suddenly facing hundreds of millions in unexpected administrative burdens.
Wait, why does a tax cut cost them money?
Because sudden tax rate changes mean ripping up and reprogramming basically every invoice. Every accounting software system and contract across the supply chain has to be updated. It's an absolute logistical nightmare.
Geez, that sounds awful.
Yeah, and look at the restaurant industry. If takeout food drops to a 1% tax, but eating inside stays at the standard 10%, customers are just going to take their food and leave.
Oh, right, which would just totally gut dine-in revenues.
Yeah. And the anxiety isn't just on Main Street, right? It's hitting the financial sector, too. The sources mention bond markets being spooked by a Honbudo shock, pushing long-term interest rates up to 2.9%. How does a grocery tax cut shake up the bond market?
So a massive tax cut means drastically less government revenue. To keep the lights on, the government has to issue more debt. Bond investors see that extra debt, they worry about inflation and fiscal stability, and then they demand higher interest rates to compensate for the risk.
Which is the Honbudo shock in action.
You got it. And because of these systemic risks, Tamaki is pushing for alternatives that don't mess with the consumption rate. Things like cutting resident taxes or issuing immediate cash payouts.
Okay, so the 2029 system is like a targeted scalpel, but Takaichi's 1% stopgap feels like using a sledgehammer. And the opposition is warning it's going to crack the foundation. Yet she is holding incredibly firm. Why the intense urgency on her end?
Well, she's arguing from a basic survival standpoint, like food is essential, and Japan needs to press the growth switch right now to protect citizens from inflation.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and beyond immediate relief, she wants to establish a sort of European-style flexibility. She wants the government to have the precedent to quickly lower consumption taxes during future national crises without getting bogged down in years of debate.
But time is a major factor here, right? Because there's an early August deadline to make a decision if this is going to roll out next April. And the news reports are filled with whispers that the Prime Minister might just bypass this deadline conference entirely.
Yeah, she might force the 1% cut through unilaterally. It is a massive high-stakes gamble. I mean, both sides clearly want to relieve the public's financial burden, but their roadmaps are just fundamentally opposed.
Right. And while a 1% grocery tax is incredibly appealing on paper, it's a high-stakes economic experiment. It's way more complicated than just saving a few yen at the register.
It really is.
Which leaves us with this fascinating question for you to mull over. If the government proves it can simply dial the consumption tax up and down at will during a crisis, how will that permanently change the way you view the strictness of all other taxes going forward? Just something to chew on next time you're waiting in the checkout line. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.